All right, let's start. So first of all, what's a digital nomad? Some of you might have heard this term before, some of you might not. The way I define it is someone who works remotely and travels at the same time. It's if you travel for work, that's not being a digital nomad. In my definition, is you can work from anywhere and you take your work with you, and so that's basically how I define it. Um, First of all, let's start with a little bit of my story, my background. Um, I started in 2015 after grad school. I joined a startup in the US, which was 100% remote. It was called Crossover. Maybe some of you heard of it, especially if you're in IT. And within a week from starting, it was in Austin, in Texas. And within a week from starting, I moved to Bali, Indonesia. And that's where my nomad story started. I'm gonna dig a little bit deeper into this part of the story in a second. And since then, I've been doing it on and off for the last 6 years. So I spent a big chunk of the last 6 years in this nomadic lifestyle and traveling all around the world in many different continents. So I'm not going to get into details of these 6 years. It's a lot of to talk about. I might tell a story or two, but I want to tell you about how it actually started. So as I mentioned, it started in Bali. So for those of you who don't know, Bali is a small island in Indonesia. It's like somewhere around here. So this is India, Thailand, Australia, and this is Indonesia. Bali is somewhere around here. And that's where I moved the first week after joining this startup with a friend of mine. He was a friend in grad school, and then we started working at the startup together. This is actually my first work spot in Bali. These are rice fields, and there's a volcano in the background. I think it was 2 or 3 days after arriving. And in there, I joined sort of a tribe of nomads. This was the very early days of this digital nomad movement. There was this tribe of people who work together. They come from all different backgrounds, from different companies. Some of them are employees, some of them are freelancers, some of them are entrepreneurs. It's called Hackers Paradise. And they define themselves as a diverse group of creatives, engineers, academics, and entrepreneurs who work hard, play hard, and travel the world. So it's basically a group of people who want to travel the world in a community. And there are some guys who organize it for a fee, obviously. And we all work together from the same co-working spot. We lived in the same villa and spent time together, getting to know each other. It was an amazing experience. And what was amazing about it, especially, was the kind of people that joined this group. We had people from very interesting people. You can imagine that a movement that is very like new as this one of working from anywhere with your laptop, it attracts very curious and interesting people from very different backgrounds. Some of them started companies that are pretty big right now. Some of them, I had a story of a friend of mine. I don't see him on the picture, but he in a hackathon that we had on a Sunday, he built a website called The User is Drunk, where he would get drunk himself and test websites. And within 3 or 4 weeks, he made $50,000 doing that. I helped him with the getting drunk part. So that's the kind of people that were with me. The whole movement of the ketogenic diet and intermittent fasting, those things are very popular today. No one heard about that in 2015. And these guys were discussing this. Crypto, a lot of people were into crypto 6 years ago. So people who were totally ahead of the curve. So while we were there, this was so new that I actually made a documentary about it. It's called One Way Ticket, and they came to interview us and film us. That's actually, in case you didn't notice, that's me in the photo. And this guy here on the left, this guy is a big YouTuber right now, Scotty Allen from Strange Parts. A couple of years ago, he released a video of, he actually went to China, moved to China and built an iPhone by himself, by buying all the different parts and putting them together. So that's a cool video if you want to check it out. So these are the kind of hackers, the kind of misfits that we were all working together and living together. So yeah, this is just to give you an idea of what kind of people you can find and you can meet by traveling the world and moving out from your comfort zone. So this is how it all started in Southeast Asia 6 years ago. Since then, I worked from 23 countries all around the world, in South and North America, Europe, Southeast Asia. And this is only counting places where I actually worked as a nomad. It doesn't count any vacations or work trips. So yeah, I moved quite a bit in many different parts of the world, and I learned a lot of things. I lived good things, bad things. So yeah, so my idea now is to tell you a little bit about some of the learnings that I had earned along the way. Things that I think are very important, especially if you're new to this and you, with this new changes that the coronavirus brought to the world, many more people are going to be trying this lifestyle. So these are 10 tips that I recommend for new nomads. First of all, work comes first. So with this new superpower that you might have, it might be tempting to go to the beach in the middle of the day and chill, but it's not how it actually is. So you need to take care of what allows you to travel the world, that is your job. And so your job needs to continue being the priority, and especially here. Not your manager, your boss, or the customer that you're attending, they should only realize that you are in Mexico or wherever you are because of your tan, and not because you are late or you are hungover or whatever. They shouldn't realize that you are in the other side of the world. That's the way, at least the way I see it. So yeah, give priority to work. There's a big myth that sometimes when I posted photos of working from somewhere close to the beach or something, people say, hey, it's impossible to concentrate here, you're not doing any work. I'd say that's bullshit. I think because you're traveling so much and every weekend seems like a vacation, like you disconnect completely every single weekend, it's actually better for your work performance. Every week you start fresh, and also the fact that you're moving around changes something in your brain or something. But I don't know, in my opinion, it's beneficial for your career and not detrimental. That's the way I see it, if you give priority to it. So tip number 2, first Wi-Fi and then food. This is a very important lesson. So whenever you're looking for a new place to work, maybe a new cafe or restaurant or a co-working space, first thing you need to do is check the Wi-Fi. So first thing you need, once you enter the door, hey, what's the password of the Wi-Fi? Check it with your phone. You can download the speed test app, or on your laptop go to fast.com, and you need at least 20 megabits per second if you're going to have video calls. That's at least my minimum. Make sure that it works correctly before even sitting down and ordering the menu, because it happened a lot of times that I ordered food, I was ready, and then I checked the Wi-Fi and it sucked, and I had to live. So yeah, prioritize Wi-Fi. Tip number 3, move slowly. It might be very, very tempting with this new superpower from working from anywhere to jump to new places every couple of days. It feels like the world is on your reach, especially if you go to somewhere like Europe, where distances are a lot shorter and it's cheaper to move around. It might be very tempting to do so. I would advise against it, and take it easy. Give every place a chance. Sometimes first impressions might be misleading. You might not like a place at first. Maybe you just didn't find the right neighborhood. Maybe you didn't find the right people. Maybe you didn't understand the culture or the way the city works. So I would recommend to spend at least 2 weeks in each place. The minimum. I like to spend at least a month, but at least 2 weeks. That will give you an idea of how it actually is to live there. You're gonna have ups and you're gonna have downs, but I think in 2 weeks you can get a picture of the average and decide if you want to stay there for longer or not. So be patient, don't run on the second day, and try to enjoy the moment. Tip number 4, travel light. Also very important tip. You should bring the absolute minimum with you. My recommendation is target the first destination. If it's hot, just bring t-shirts and shorts and that's it. Don't even think about bringing a sweater. And if you stay there longer and it starts getting cold or something, it's better to buy, and you can find cheap stores everywhere, than to bring stuff that you're not gonna need, because you're gonna be carrying that everywhere and it's a pain in the ass. Ideally, and what I try to do is not to check in any baggage. So I only travel with what I can carry on top of the plane. And because you're gonna be moving a lot, and you don't want to be carrying a huge luggage and that it's hard to walk on the streets. You're gonna be walking a lot, very likely. So yeah. And also regarding books, I love paper books. I love reading on them, but if you have a Kindle, take it. It's a lot more practical. Trust me, like this is, I didn't follow my advice, so I'm carrying, these are the books that I read in the past 3 months, and I'm carrying this everywhere, which is a pain in the ass. And I don't like giving my books away. So yeah, if you have a Kindle, take one. Tip number 5. So read the Bible, or at least the Digital Nomad version of the Bible. This website called Nomad List. This is, you're gonna get 95% of the resources that you need as a nomad from here. This is a website that I've been using it since 2015. This is, can you see the website? Am I still sharing it? Okay. So yeah. This shows you a ranking of, at this moment in time, which are the best places to work as a digital nomad. So right now I'm in Playa del Carmen in Mexico. So that's why it's highlighted in red. And the #1 spot today, right now, is Lisbon in Portugal. And if you go anywhere, let's go to Lisbon, you can see a summary of different attributes. If you double click, you can see a lot of more detail about it. Details from everything. If you're interested in the cost of living, here you can see different costs as a nomad. If you take your family, what's the cost of living as a local? So what's the cost of Airbnb or a cup of coffee? Pros and cons of every place. Something that is very useful before even arriving to the city is this neighborhoods map, where you can see every neighborhood whenever you're looking for an Airbnb or something, which is the recommended area to book your place, which places are full of tourists, which ones are the hipsters place, the rich people, This is super useful. If you want to find co-working space, so you can also do it from here. A lot of different things you can see here.
Fede, one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you know why the cost of living as a nomad is so much expensive than the other? Is it because you pay more rent?
Into that in a bit, Dami.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's the next slide or the other. Yeah. So yeah, you can get a lot of things. And there's this other website called Borderless. It's from Safety Wing. It's like a insurance for nomads, and you can see which countries are open their borders now in coronavirus. So it's really helpful also, and you can see a lot of details like regarding vaccinations and what kind of testing you need or whatever. So this is also something that I'm using a lot now. But yeah, Nomad List is the Digital Nomad Bible for sure. And this is where I was getting done. So tip number 6 is get over the setup costs. So being new to town, it's going to be very expensive. Why? Because you have no idea how the city works, where are the cheap places, where are the expensive places, how much things actually cost there for locals. So my advice is to get an Airbnb or Booking or something, whatever, just for the first week or the first couple of days. If you're arriving on a Friday or on a Saturday, that's even better because it'll give you a couple of days to walk around and get to know the place. But after that, find something way cheaper to stay from a local. Maybe the person that you rented the Airbnb from, maybe he can help you out or ask around in restaurants or from local people. And you're gonna bring your cost down 2 or 3 times for sure. Part of the reason why it's so hard to be a nomad, to answer your question, Dami, one is your housing. That's a huge part of the cost. And also eating out, probably. It's very easy to fall into the tourist traps, and it's way better and cheaper if you find where the locals eat out or go out, and you also get more of the local experience, right? That's something that more of an authentic way of living in the city. So yeah, try as soon as possible to get over the setup costs because they can drain your wallet. And also, if you want to make this more sustainable, you need to find a way to make it adjustable to your budget. So before closing this, so a lot of people ask about the how to travel with a low budget. Being a nomad, it can be cheap if you are willing to find the places where the locals work and all the things that I was saying. Obviously, it might be cheaper to stay at home, but if you go to places like Southeast Asia or like Mexico, where I'm right now, it's way cheaper than Uruguay, or at least for the Uruguayans here, or Argentina if you're Argentina. Tip number 7, so make the best out of time zones. So this is something that is most of you are going to find quite different. So if you're, for someone in Uruguay, just to put an example, right now I'm in Mexico and it's 2 hours behind. So my 9 to 6 Uruguayan time is actually 7 to 4 here. So what I do right now is I wake up at 6:30 a.m. I work until 4 or 5, depends on the day. Some days a little bit more, obviously, but after that, I can go to the beach. I can enjoy the day. It's super early still, and it's not. I think the 9 to 6 is a terrible time frame during the day. You spend most of your day working. Then it's too late to do stuff because it's already night, and unless you make the best of your early morning, you're just spend all your day working. So in my case in Mexico, it worked great. If you go to Spain on the other side, the 9 to 6 would be a 2 to 11. So it doesn't mean that you need to work 2 to 11. Maybe you can work 1 to 10 or 12 to 9 or something. But the good thing is that you can enjoy the morning, go to the beach, train, learn, whatever you want to do, and then work. Or something that I did a lot as well was enjoying the peace and the quietness of the morning while everyone else is sleeping, at least on the Western Hemisphere, and do some quiet work then. Just you can be creative and you can pick the place according to the lifestyle you want to have as well. So that's also something of a benefit of being a nomad. Tip number 8, take care of yourself and by building habits. So if you're moving so much, it might be hard to keep your old rituals, your routines. They might mess with your sleep, your shape, how you eat. So I take it as a priority to find or set my habits regarding eating, sleeping, exercise, learning, meditation, everything as soon as I get there, because they help me continue with my life. It happens that because you're moving so much and because your time frames during the day, your windows of work time sometimes change, you might fall in the trap of working the whole day. So it's good to have habits that help you break your work and no work time slots, and also keep yourself healthy. So something that it's important. So if you're used to going to the gym, for example, to keep yourself fit, if you're moving around so much, that's going to be harder. So what I try to do, I run, for example. I run and I do calisthenics. That is just body weight training. So I don't need any equipment, going to any gym. I can take my exercise with me wherever I go. And that works for me great because I don't have any excuse for not working out. And that's a kind of mentality that you need to have. Then tip number 9, it's not about taking care of yourself by yourself. It's also about meeting people. And this is one of the most important things you can do as being a nomad. If I look back on all these years, I barely remember the views or where I worked with my laptop or whatever. What I remember is the people that I've met, the amazing people that left a mark on me, probably for the rest of my life. And the only way for that to happen is to get out and meet them. So there are many ways you can do it. Joining a co-working space might be a good entry way of breaking out of your comfort zone and getting to meet new people. I did that at the beginning. I'm not doing that so much right now. I try to find new ways, but you can also join the Nomad list, this website that I was showing. There's a Slack group that you can be part of, and they have a Slack channel for every country, in some cases every city, and you can talk to people who are working from there and know stuff, or maybe even talk to people before even get there, so you build that relationship. There are hundreds of Facebook groups also for nomads that you can meet. And if you're single, you can use dating apps like Tinder. They work great. You're gonna find people who are in the same situation as you, especially nowadays, that a lot of people are doing this, especially in those hubs that I was showing, like Lisbon, or here in Playa del Carmen or Tulum, where I've been the past 2 months. There's these hubs of nomads where hundreds of them go to the same place. And part of the reason is because the Nomad list, everyone looks at that and they all go together to the same spot. So if you on Tinder, you're gonna find a lot of those kind of people. So it's great. Then also, well, approach strangers. It's gonna happen, especially in these hubs. When you go to a restaurant, you're gonna see a lot of people sitting there by themselves, probably a lot more than in your hometown, and talk to them. or they are gonna be talking to you. But it's great way to get to know new people. And last but not least, enjoy it. It's, for me, it was completely life-changing. It totally, I think, defined my character, and it helped me build so many memories that I'm gonna carry forever. And you never know how long you're gonna be able to do this for. Maybe if you're single and traveling around solo, maybe you find a partner that doesn't have the same flexibility as you, so it slows you down. If you're doing it with your partner, maybe you decide to start a family, and that complicates stuff. So enjoy it, and as if it was the last time you were going to be able to do it, because maybe it is. So yeah, have fun with it. So yeah, that was it with the presentation. I can share this later on to everyone who's here, the people who are not. And okay.
Awesome, Fede. So the idea now is to have a little Q&A with Fede. I got some questions that you already submitted in the forum, but I encourage everyone that wants to know a little bit more to turn on their cameras and ask Fede himself. So Fede, one of the questions I have, a lot of them you already covered in your presentation. So one of the most interesting questions I have is, you said to travel light, but what are like the essential things that must always be in your backpack when traveling in this kind of way?
Okay, so my laptop, obviously. Clothes related as less as possible. I try to live with the minimum. I reuse my clothes a lot. I wash my clothes in the shower so I can use them the next day. I don't want to take things to the laundry because they break it and it takes too long. I would say not much, honestly. I mean, I would say that the less, the better. My books or my Kindle, if I remember to bring it. Something that I used a lot was really helpful, but now my phone charges fast. But it was like a bank for a battery pack. That's really helpful. Something that is really useful. If you can get one, it's amazing, but it's pretty hard to get, is the Google Fi SIM card, which basically gives you internet everywhere in the world. So it's whenever you get to a new place, you just get data to text and get internet. So you don't need to go and buy a SIM card every place you go. So that's the one I'm using, but there are a lot of others that you can get quite cheaply. So I would strongly advise to get one of those. And if your phone has dual SIM like mine, that's super easy to handle.
Cool. Fede, another question that came up a lot was, what's your next destiny?
My next destination. So
sorry.
Yeah. So I've been in Mexico for almost 3 months now, between Playa del Carmen and Tulum. I'm going back to Uruguay in about 2 weeks, for I think about a month or a couple of weeks. And then in August, I'm planning to go to Europe. I don't know where yet, because things change pretty quick nowadays, the COVID situation. My guess is Portugal. I might listen to Nomad List and go to maybe Lisbon or somewhere else. But I have no idea yet. We'll see.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I don't know if you already covered before. I have a problem with my connection for a couple of minutes. But what about the medical insurance situation? I had for example, I in the past I had an injury in the States, and I broke my arm, and I had to pay like $800. So what do you recommend about that?
So there are these worldwide insurance companies like Safety Wing, the one I was showing before, and for something like $50 or $60 a month, you can get worldwide coverage.
Okay.
I was very lucky that I never had to use any of this. I mean, I pay for it and all, but I never got into any injury, and I'm touching wood. I don't have any wood here. But yeah, I would recommend one of those. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I have, Fede, also
Guys,
a question. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Thank you, Canu. I want to know how do you plan ahead the next destinations and how many you have already planned. So now you're in Mexico, you know that you are going to Uruguay, and you almost know your your next step. Like, you always have like the 3 destinations ahead, or how do you manage it?
I improvise a lot. I never plan ahead too much. It depends on how, I don't know. For example, just to give you an example, in March, I went with my family on vacation to Punta Cana, and I wasn't planning to stay there or anything. And on the 3rd day, I said, okay, let's just go to Mexico. And I bought a ticket for 2 days later, and now I've been here for 3 months. So I improvise a lot. I don't think you win anything by planning so much ahead. I just do whatever I feel like at the moment.
Thank you.
And also you meet people, and people make you change your mind. Maybe they tell you about a place that you never thought of before, or you might go with someone that you met. So, yeah.
Fede.
Epo.
Hi. Question or 2 questions, right? The first one is about cash, right? And payment methods that you use, right? Because that is something that most of these destinations rely on cash. So how are you handling that, if you're using any wallets or something that to exchange money? And the second one is about having short decisions in terms of destinations. If there are any actually tips that you can provide to get, I don't know, cheaper flights or finding the right spot to or destinations.
Okay, so the first question is a really good one. It really depends on the place. I have an account on Revolut. There's a neobank in Europe. So I got this card, which gives you basically you can withdraw money if you go to an ATM. It depends on the ATM. So that's something, every place has, the ATMs have different logics. Some of them might charge you a fee. Some of them might add you a spread. You need to find the ATM that doesn't. Here in Mexico, if I go to a Citibanamex, for example, they charge me in Mexican pesos, and Revolut charge me in Mexican pesos, and they do the FX, and they don't add any spread to it. So it makes it just costs me 30 pesos to withdraw cash, which is great.
And do you have a monthly fee management?
For the plan I have, yes, because it gives you other advantages, but it has a free version. Yeah, so I really recommend this account. You need to have, I think, a European passport or something. It depends. It's not for everyone. If you're gonna be using your local, my Uruguayan debit card, for example, is gonna charge you the 3% with WhatsApp. So it's good to find an alternative with this cheaper. And regarding your second question, which was how do I find flights or choose to move around? I changed that a lot. I usually use Kayak, which is sort of like Skyscanner. I think they are from the same family. Sometimes I use Google Flights. I know there are some websites like that find like super cheap offers. I don't tend to use that a lot because I decide where to go and then I look for the tickets. I don't do it the other way around. I prioritize the place and not the cost of the ticket, to be honest.
Great, thank you.
Fede, question. What's the best way to find a location for a short period of time? You said that you find an Airbnb for a week and then you find another place to go. But if you're staying like 2 months,
yeah,
you have a rent contract for 2 months only, or what's the best way of doing it?
I never signed any contract. I try to avoid those. I know if you go to somewhere like Spain, you have Idealista and these kind of websites where you find medium-term contracts. I usually try to avoid those and work with locals and find something with them. To be honest, I've never rented a place for more than a month. Like now, for example, in Mexico, I do weekly rents. I try to negotiate at the beginning, say, hey, I'm a nomad, I'm trying the place. If I like it, I'm going to stay here for forever or something like that. So they make me the monthly price, but for a week, because I like that flexibility of if after that week I want to move somewhere else, I can do it. So I try to keep it as short as possible because of that, to get that freedom to decide. But you first need to negotiate that, because if not, you're going to be paying an extra. But yeah, I try to avoid anything that involves a contract, to be honest.
Thank you.
Fede, which was your least favorite destination, like the one that you'll never go back to?
Good question.
Uruguay.
No.
Good question. I really don't know, to be honest. So
maybe it's no place. Maybe you would repeat every destination, but
I didn't like Miami, for example, or most places in the US, to be honest. I'm a very cheap person, if you will. So if things are expensive, I don't like it. I like where places are cheap and you can stay there for long, and people don't look at how you're dressed or stuff. You can just go with flip-flops and everywhere. That's the kind of place that I like. London, for example, I wouldn't go back to London. It costs you to breathe, and people are all dressed up. So yeah, not my style.
Different vibe.
Yeah.
Cool.
Hey, Fede, is there a moment in which you feel like you have to go home, or you need a place, or you need your own family or friends, or you just feel like everywhere is your home?
No, yes, that's a really good question. So yeah, that might not look like, but I'm a very home person. I love my place. I love my family, my friends. I love spending time with them. So yeah, the most I've been out from Uruguay, like in a single stretch, was I don't think I got to the year. I always try to go back, whenever you go back home after a long period of being out, your friends, they're all the same. It was like pause and play. Nothing happens. But your parents, your grandparents, you see them a little older every time you go back. And that, so yeah, I try not to spend so much time without going home. Yeah. And also not having moving around with your backpack. I mean, it's a great liberating feeling, but it gets a little bit exhausting after a while. So it's good to recharge your batteries back home every now and then.
Okay. I Fede, sorry, I'm just joining in. So I believe you might have maybe perhaps answered this question earlier. How many countries have you been in so far?
So as a nomad, I showed it before.
Yeah, as a nomad, yeah.
As a nomad, I think I had it here. It's 23 countries, I think it was. I lost my PPT here.
And
Can you still see it?
when
No.
did you start the nomad life?
2015, so 6 years ago. So actually, it was 6 years ago. Then I stopped when I joined the local in 2018. So 2018 and 2019, I spent most of my time in Uruguay doing a lot of work trips, but that doesn't count. So yeah, last year I restarted my nomad life.
Okay, and lastly, I believe you oftentimes it's you get to use the tourist visa, right?
Yes, yeah, most of the time tourist visa. Yeah, in places like you, I'm one of the lucky ones who got a European passport. So for Europe, it makes it a lot easier to stay there for long, and also it makes it easier for other countries as well. But yeah, always tourist visa. I never say that I'm on customs. I never say that I'm going there for work. It's just I'm a tourist.
Okay.
Yeah,
Awesome. Thank you. Because just activating my kind of nomad lifestyle over here too. So I really wanted to join in to just get a few lessons from you. I'm normally based in Lagos, yeah, but right now I'm in Nairobi. And my plan is just to stay 4 weeks in each African country for a start. So
Nice.
I get that and I get to explore Europe as well.
Nice. I'll ask you for a tip or two then. I really want to go. I've never been to Africa, so that's probably.
No problem. It's been great over here.
Hi, Fede. This is Jimena from Mexico City. What advantages and disadvantages do you see in each of these countries in terms of payment methods? Or companies that you think are behind or very advanced? I mean, in every single country that you have been. And for the last question is, in which country, where if you would like to live when you are old? Like we say in Mexico, like capacita.
Good question. So in Europe, I love that you can pay with your phone everywhere. You got your mobile wallet and you pay with NFC. You tap your phone and you pay. That's super convenient. In places like here in Mexico, I think
nothing.
It's very cash based. So yeah, you need to have cash, and especially for paying for places to stay. They don't have a POS most of the time. The most advanced, I don't think I need more than paying with my phone. I think that's the top. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to say every country because I don't remember that things change. But yeah, and where I want to live, I love Uruguay. I mean, I move a lot, but I love going back home. I love how tiny it is and how everyone knows each other. It has this downside, but I love my country, and I think I would probably live there. Yeah.
Question: how do you pay taxes?
Good question. So I'm a Uruguayan resident, or I don't know how you call it, tax resident. If you spend more than 6 months in a single place, you're considered the tax resident. I might not be spending 6 months anywhere, so maybe I'm in a little of a gray zone, gray area there. But I assume that I'm a tax resident, so I just do everything as if I was living in Uruguay. Yeah.
All right, great. Thanks.
Do you have a home of your own in Uruguay?
I do. I have an apartment right now because I moved without planning it. It's empty. But what I usually do is I rent it out to a friend, so they cover the expenses and that's it. Or I'm gonna try to Airbnb it. Nowadays it's a little bit harder, especially in Uruguay. The borders are closed, but I want to start Airbnb and it's more and have someone manage it.
Guys, we have 10 more minutes, so every question you have, feel free to ask away. I have a couple more that were submitted. I have a spicy question for you.
Okay. Well,
Now you talk about this, but one person asked how Tinder or dates apps change between the countries. Like, is there a significant change or is the same?
In what sense? In the quality
I don't
of
know.
what you
If
find
the
on
person
the
who
app?
asked the question wants to raise his hand or her hand,
Show yourself.
show yourself.
Yeah, obviously it changes. To be honest, I most of the time that I've been traveling single. When I had a relationship for 3.5 years in the middle, and that made me also slow down a lot. But for the most part, I've been single, and I used Tinder, but just at the beginning, just to break and getting to know people at first, because I don't even know where to start. I used that at the beginning, but then I don't like it that much, to be honest. I rather
old school.
Yeah, old school. Yeah.
Well, I have another question. What does a company need to have for people like you? I mean, a nomad.
What do you mean? Like to prepare? What do you mean?
Yeah,
exactly?
just to be, for example, with the local, you're here in the local because the local give you this opportunity just to go to another countries. What does they need to have just to have a person like you making the process work for them, and the people that is in the company, what does they have to need?
They need to be modern and open-minded, and they need to know that people are going to perform well if you give them objectives and you trust them. It doesn't matter where they live. That and being able to work remotely, I think that's it. You don't need a lot more than that. If you ask people to be in the office and do 9 to 5 or whatever, that's where you lose these kind of people. Other than that, it's up to everyone to live where they want to. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, I have a question. I don't know if it's been asked because I was late. But if you change time zones, how do you do? Do you take like always work the Uruguay times, or you try to adapt a little bit to the time zone you would be at that moment, or you discuss with your boss or whoever?
Yeah, so I did both. So here in the local, I try to have the most overlap I can with the Uruguayan time, just because I have so many meetings and I need to coordinate with so many people every time, just because of the nature of my job right now. But I had the other experience where I was I didn't have people underneath me. I didn't have so many meetings. And then I had more flexibility, and I chose my time zone, my time frame to work. But it will depend on the nature of your job, to be honest.
Any other question, guys?
Yeah,
okay.
Go ahead, Javier.
Okay. Just a quick question. What about the language situation? Have you ever been to a country that doesn't speak Spanish, English, or any other language that you speak?
I think,
for instance, Bali. Do they speak English?
Yeah.
Everybody speaks English.
Yeah, everyone's. Yeah, and Southeast Asia is very touristy. A lot of people go there from everywhere. Bali is like little Australia. So yeah, most places speak English, or at least you can find people who speak English and can help you out. Yeah, I didn't see that as an issue anywhere.
Okay.
Yeah. And speaking Spanish is very helpful as well, because
yeah, we have many countries.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
One more question. When you search your next destination or you decide that, are you tempted to repeat destinations, or you are searching always to new destinations?
I repeat a lot. I'm not afraid of. I'm not about covering the whole map. I don't care about that. I care about enjoying the place where I'm living. So I repeat a lot. For example, Barcelona is a place that I love, and I go there every time I travel. Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that. To be honest, what I like is discovering new places that I feel comfortable, that I enjoy. And the more places you can have that around the world, then you can go back to. That's great. So yeah.
Thanks.
Hi, Fede. I have a question. Why did you start this nomadic life? It was because your first job was fully remote, or you wanted something like this to do?
So I went to school in the US. Okay, so I went to this Ivy League school. Everything was super preppy, and they really prepared you for all these interviews and the whole career path of going to the office and whatever. And I interviewed after grad school. I interviewed with a lot of companies, and then I had on one side Microsoft. So I actually went to Seattle and had the interview with everyone. And on the other side, this startup was barely, I think, 10 people in Austin and was 100% remote. And I had those two opportunities, and I had to pick one. And I picked the nomad startup life. That's how it started. I picked it because of the lifestyle that I wanted to have. And also on a career decision, I'd rather be the, how do you call it, the house head of the mice and not the tail of the lion. I don't know how you say it in English. I'd rather be someone important and making an impact on a small company than being a tiny one and a huge one.
Big fish in a small pond.
Yeah.
You don't regret not being in Microsoft?
Not at all. It rains every day in Seattle. No.
Okay. I admire you because it's Microsoft, you know, but it's.
Yeah, but I'm here in the local.
We are the local. You have people like me, don't worry. Fede, I have a question.
I have a question. Have you met many nomad families? And if you have, how do they manage schools?
I've met, yeah, and that's very interesting. So I remember one of them in Bali, in this amazing co-working space that now it closed due to COVID. It was called Hubud. Now the founder is doing crypto. So there was a family. I think they had 3 kids, beautiful blonde little kids, and they were homeschooled. And the mother in the co-working space, they had a whiteboard, and she was teaching the classes there. And these kids were super social, and they would go and talk to anyone, and they were friends between each other because there were not a lot of kids. So it's a tough decision if you want to try that. Obviously, it's the how you raise your kids. I think that your kids would be way more social than regular kids if they are raised that way. But I don't have a lot of data to see what happens in the long term. But at least the ones that I've seen firsthand, they look happy.
I have a question, Fede. What is the most important soft skill that you might need to be a nomad, that you consider that is required for being a nomad?
So yeah, that's a good word. So I'm an introvert. I consider myself a big introvert. So I don't mind spending time by myself. I feel comfortable with it for up to a certain extent. It happens when you're moving so much, especially if you're traveling solo, you're going to spend some time by yourself. So that's something to keep in mind. It might not be a social skill, but something about your personality that you need to know. That said, I'm an introvert, but I think that I learned to be social and have that bravery to go out and talk to people. This is something that I learned. I was always a very shy kid, but I think I learned it in my travels. And I think that's probably the most important thing to do, just to get out and meet people, because you're gonna need it.
Cool. Guys, we're on time. Fede, I have one final question for you. What was the last time you experienced cold?
No, it was last year, just before going to. So last year, I spent the first half of the year in Uruguay, up until August, where I moved to Mallorca. So yeah, it was July of last year.
Okay, guys, thanks for joining, Fede. Thanks for this amazing coffee talk. I think it was for sure one of the best. And don't hesitate to, for me, at least the learning I have from this is that I want to become a nomad now. So, so thank you very much, everyone, Fede especially, and let's meet again in the next one.
If any of you want to talk, I'm here. I'm happy to help. I love it, and yeah, I'm gonna be sharing this deck if you find it useful.
Thanks, Fede.
Gracias.
Back to work.
Gracias.
Bye bye.
Thank you,
Thank
Fede.
you. Bye.